Bedding to use in a feral cat shelter. Video by Vladimir Kitten Project. A shelter is only usable if it has the ability to dry out after a wet cat has occupied it. There are some materials that should never be put in a cat shelter. Bedding that gets wet and stays wet will then rot or freeze, and then the cat won't use the shelter. Examples of what should not be placed in a cat shelter include any fabric such as towels, wool, polar fleece, cotton blankets, or pillows. Neither should you use sponge or foam, cardboard, or drywall. Plain styrofoam helps keep a cat warm. Another layer of it can be added to the floor if you have extra styrofoam pieces. That would save wear and tear on the floor, seeing as cats like to claw it, just like this wobbly little guy.
Don't scratch, Vlad.
Mylar material reflects heat and a layer of it can be glued inside a shelter to keep it warmer. High-density styrofoam is very good insulation. It can be cut into pieces and added to the inside of a shelter. Whether or not you put straw inside a styrofoam shelter is up to you. If the shelter will be shared by a number of feral cats snuggling up together, as they like to do once they are sterilized and hormones are taken out of the equation, then stuffing it full of straw would unfortunately leave less room for cats. On the other hand, if the shelter is for only 1 or 2 cats, and there will be a lot of extra room in the shelter, then straw can help fill up the space. The styrofoam is much more important for insulating the cat than straw is, so if you don't have any straw or choose not to put straw in the shelter, then that is fine. Know the difference between hay and straw. This is straw. Straw is yellow, and when a wet cat sits on it, it is able to wick away the water and dry itself out. Hay is greenish in color, and it should never be used for bedding because it rots when it gets wet. Straw does have one drawback, though. It is impossible for the combine to remove absolutely all of the seeds. A few of them will be scattered throughout the straw. We have heard from pet groomers that these hay seeds not only can get tangled in an animal's fur, but can get embedded in their skin. Perhaps the solution is to use straw inside shelters for short-haired cats, and to insulate shelters for long-haired cats in some other way. If you do decide to use straw as bedding, the shelter can be filled right up. The cats will either burrow in it or pack it down. We have tried using wood shavings as bedding, but they seem to get stuck onto the cat's fur and then transported out of the shelter. Don't use wood chips thinking that that would act less like Velcro than wood shavings. They would be uncomfortable for the cat to sleep on. Aside from bedding, for warmth, a wind block can be added to the shelter if desired. An easy way to make a wind block is to cut the end off of a thin plastic flower pot with a pair of scissors, and then fit it over the entrance hole. You can use glue or caulking to secure it in place if you like. Another method is to secure a piece of stiff, waterproof material to the entrance hole. Make sure the material is not flimsy or else the wind will blow it inwards, letting rainwater run down it and into the shelter. Depending on where you can place the shelter for the cats, it might be possible to have the entrance hole facing a wall or a tree or some other object that can act as a wind block. Knowing what should and shouldn't be put into a shelter will surely be greatly appreciated by the feral cats that want a warm, dry place to sleep.